Today's interview on the Overcoming Graduation podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/OCG. That's audibletrial.com/OCG. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Overcoming Graduation with Brian Drury, a show where I work to teach you everything I wished I'd known about life to help you graduate to the next level in your own. And in today's episode, this is going to be a special one because we're talking about a topic that is going to make some people a little bit uncomfortable, going to make some people squirm, and it's going to make other people excited in more ways than one because today we are talking about sex. And the guest that we have on today's episode may be one of the most qualified people in the world to speak on that topic because I sit down today with Alice Little. Alice is the #1 highest paid legal sex worker in the United States. And in today's episode, she's not just going to tell you how to have an incredible sex life, but she's going to teach you how to create deep, intimate connections, how to understand people better in your life so you can better serve them, better connect with them, and also is going to give some very practical, real-world tips on how to be a kick-ass entrepreneur as well. Now, as we dive into Alice's story, it's anything but conventional. Her journey of exploration has taken her from being a jockey to being an EMT and now to being the #1 highest paid legal sex worker at the Bunny Ranch, which was made famous by the CatHouse TV series shown on HBO. She's an incredibly intelligent, hardworking person who's doing everything in her power to improve the sex lives of the people she interacts with. And one of her primary goals in every interaction she has is to understand a person as deeply as possible so she can help them better understand themselves. The secret to incredible sex and an incredible sex life may not be what you expect, and today we get to sit down with an expert who pulls back the curtain and gives us a clear picture of how to not just have better sex, but have better relationships and an overall better life. In today's episode, Alice will discuss the biggest misconceptions men and women have about sex, why her mom was relieved when she decided to begin working as a sex worker, one secret for men to massively improve their sex game, her top 3 key strategies to become a world-class performer at anything you do, what the life of a legal sex worker actually looks like, why different types of clients come to see her, and the reasons are going to be different than I think a lot of you expect, and so much more. It really was a pleasure sitting down with Alice. I can't wait to have her back, and I'm looking forward to the questions and the feedback from you on what do you want to learn from Alice when we bring her back for part 2. But now, without any further ado, allow me to introduce you to Alice Little. Today, I am hugely excited to have my guest, Alice Little, on the show. So, Alice, thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And we are thrilled to learn from you and hear what you have to say and learn about your story and your journey. So, as we've talked about a little bit, I like to kick off this show at college graduation typically, but I know your story takes a little bit of an unconventional turn at the beginning. So can you tell us about some of the early steps that you took in terms of finding your way to what you're doing right now?
Of course, it definitely is a very interesting story. It started off with my journey into college. Initially, I went in wanting to get a full degree in thoroughbred equine management, and along the way, I also managed to pick up my jockey's license. So I took a few months off of work, or I should say a few months away from school, to go start working down at the Belmont racetrack, which is in New York. It was kind of a dream job for me, except for the fact that there's a lot of sexism in the equine world when it comes to thoroughbred racing. Unfortunately, a lot of male jockeys don't want to share that career path with women, and so they'll do pretty much anything to bully women out of that field. After several months of trying and attempting to pick up jobs and get hired, it just wasn't a really good fit, and I wasn't interested in having to come up against that continually for the rest of my career. Mm-hmm. So I decided to switch gears at this point, and I went off on what could be called a great journey of exploration when it came to jobs. I have done everything from selling cell phones to being a massage therapist. I worked as an EMT for a period of time. I really tried a whole bunch of different things in an attempt to find a job that fulfilled me. Mm-hmm. I grew up with this notion that whatever job, whatever career you end up in, is that it should be fulfilling. It should meet all of your passions. It should make you happy. And at the end of the day, you walk away from your work with a smile on your face. And through all of those things, there would just be different roadblocks. For example, when I was working as an EMT, I found out I'm a little bit squeamish. A whole lot of blood is not a very good fit for me. And so being an EMT, right out, not going to happen. Whereas being a massage therapist was wonderful, but I didn't like how limited the interactions were. I felt like I was able to contribute to the lives of my clientele, but I wanted to do so in a deeper and more meaningful way. The opportunity to start working at the Moonlight Bunny Ranch appeared to me, and I jumped in with both feet. It really was an amazing adventure and kind of blending all of those different skills I've acquired throughout my life, from the people skills of doing customer service jobs to getting to interact one-on-one with somebody in a massage therapy environment to having to negotiate and try to get a job when I was working as a jockey. All of those different facets kind of came together and ended up being the perfect job for me working at the Bunny Ranch.
And this is fantastic because there's so many seemingly disconnected steps. And this is something that I see more and more as I do these interviews is we have this notion that there's supposed to be a very clear, perfect path. We're supposed to have one thing figured out. But the more people I talk to, the more that I realize that's not the truth at all, that people are figuring things out as they go. And what's incredible is how all these seemingly disparate things came together, where even your work as an EMT, you understand the human body, which now plays into what you do. You understand which plays
physiology and anatomy is no different from when somebody is on a hospital bed versus my bed at the ranch.
See, and I can only imagine how you use that. I just pictured like some ninja move where you like touch their shoulder and their whole body relaxes or something. But exactly. You know the move and the noise. So what I'd like to ask about, because I know many young adults have the same fear and the same thought that you do. They feel this sense of feeling wrong, feeling like everyone else has it figured out and they're lost. So for any young adults who are on that journey of self-discovery right now, what are some of the biggest lessons that you learned in your own journey to get to what is now your dream job?
Well, first off, let me go ahead and reveal the biggest secret. Every single adult that seems like they have it all figured out and they have it all together, the secret is that they're pretending. That's it. Everybody is pretending that they know exactly what they are doing, exactly where they are headed. But the reality is not a single one of us can predict what exactly will happen tomorrow, the day after, what our career field will necessarily be, what track our lives will take. All of those things, as much as we want to be able to control and plan and feel like we have influence over them, at the end of the day, life in many ways is this great journey of self-discovery. And you can do one of two things. You can let life happen to you, where all of these things are happening and you're just reacting to them, or life is happening for you, where things are happening, opportunities are being presented, and you're choosing to make the most out of every situation possible. And at a certain point of time in my journey, I decided, you know what? No, I want to be in charge of this roller coaster ride. I want to point which direction I'm headed in, and I want to see what's going to happen if I choose to go this way rather than that way. What happens if I take a different path? Maybe everyone else is going right, but I'm choosing to go left. And what ended up happening is I achieved more success than I ever imagined possible. So for any young adults out there that feel like they're lost, that they don't really have a clear-cut path, that's okay. So long as you're moving in the direction of the things that you want to achieve, you're doing the right things. Every step in the right direction is one more step forward to achieving your goals. And it doesn't matter if it's a small step or a big bunny hop, you're in the right direction, and that's what matters most. Continuous moment forward.
I love how you worked bunny hop into that. I noticed that. The bunny ranch, the bunny hop. I see what you did. That is so powerful, though, because a quote that I love is from Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And she says, don't follow your passion, follow your curiosity. And it sounds like in your life that was the journey that you took. It was, well, hey, let me try this. Hey, let me try that. And I know that from other interviews that I've heard that you've done, you talked about your mom just kind of was like, well, okay, she's off on another adventure. So can you tell the listeners a little bit about what the conversation was like when you came to her and said, I want to be a legal sex worker?
Well, first off, let's put a little bit of connotation to the conversation here.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout my life, I've always been incredibly adventurous. Everything from moving to New York City at a young age and auditioning for Broadway shows at the age of 17 when I was still in high school, to trying really adventurous careers. Let's be realistic. Being a jockey is a dangerous job.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, when I came to my mother and said, hey, so I'm thinking of trying to be at the Bunny Ranch and I'm thinking of trying this journey, her reaction was almost that of relief. Like, oh, thank God you're not going to be on those horses anymore. Oh my gosh, you're not going to be in the field anymore as an EMT. Thank goodness. So let's start there. Let's put it into context that of all the adventurous things that I have done, being a sex worker is actually one of the more safe and saner options that I've approached in my life. Now, with that being said, not everybody necessarily had that same positive, oh, great, good for you attitude. There are definitely members of my family that weren't nearly as thrilled. As you can imagine, being a legal sex worker comes with a lot of stigma. And that stigma often comes from a place of misunderstanding. People don't necessarily understand what it is that I do, what it is that I am selling, what types of services that I offer, what kinds of people come to see me. And it's very easy to make judgmental conclusions with limited information. The media portrays stereotypes of sex workers very, very readily. Very rarely do you see the trope of, say, a successful, happy sex worker. Instead, we're given this narrative of sex exploitation and sex trafficking, which has absolutely nothing to do with my work at the Bunny Ranch. It's a very, very different reality for me. My reality is I'm happy. What I do is legal. And I'm given the ability to enrich the lives of others in deeply meaningful ways. I think that's an incredible career and something that's admirable rather than something to be looked down upon.
Absolutely. It's, I think, what everyone is pursuing. Everyone wants to have something that is deeply meaningful, that brings them great joy and allows them to share joy. And this is something that's one of the most natural things that human beings do. It's one of the most universal things that we all share. And so what you said is extremely, extremely important. I want the listeners to really get that most of the negativity that will come at Alice is from misunderstanding. And really, if you look at that at a broader perspective, most of the time when we are biased towards anything, it's because we don't understand, we don't have enough information, or we've never taken the time to get to know. And Alice, that's part of why I'm so excited to have you on, is to break down a lot of the walls, break down the stereotypes, and actually go into what it really is like to be a legal sex worker. Because when I've heard your other interviews, read some of your articles, I was like, it's a very different world than what I was expecting. So before we move on to what it is like to be a legal sex worker working at the Bunny Ranch, you mentioned that some of the people in your life, and I'm imagining some people very close to you, weren't nearly as understanding and open and like, great, go get them, as mom was. So many people, when they see something big that they want to do, they think that they might face some negativity, they might face some resistance, or people who are going to tell them they could never do that. So how did you overcome the negativity that you faced, and how do you continue to challenge it today? Because I'm sure you get plenty of stuff. I know that you're very vocal and you're an advocate for legal sex workers. So how do you overcome the negative criticism and continue doing what you know in your heart you're meant to do?
So for myself, I made a personal challenge. Every single time that someone says, no, you can't, I say to myself, oh, hell yes, I can. And let me show you and prove you wrong. Awesome. And so right from the very beginning, it was, oh, you can't be successful. You're too petite. You're too tiny. Well, at 4'8", I am petite and I am tiny. And you know what? That's going to make me more successful than anyone else because I am an individual, because I am inimitable. I'm completely original, and no one has seen anybody like me at the Bunny Ranch or in this career field ever. I'm very, very unique in terms of how I look. I'm 4'8". I'm very, very pale. I've got little elfin features and vibrant red hair, deep brown eyes, and I kind of look very cute. I'm very adorable. And so when all of a sudden I open my mouth and outpours this torrent of information and this wealth of knowledge, people are kind of taken aback. And whenever you get taken aback or startle someone, they instantly want to put up a barrier and go, oh no, this is too different. This couldn't be successful. Oh no, she's not a 6 foot tall blonde with blue eyes and plastic surgery. What? No, that's not the image I have in my head of what a sex worker should be. And so the very first thing that I would recommend to people that are wanting to overcome any sort of negativity in their life is to make sure that they themselves aren't allowing that negativity to be embodied. So when somebody says, no, you can't, don't take it personally. Let it just go right off of your back as if they never said it, and just, if anything, use it to fuel your fire. Every time somebody says no, be telling yourself yes. Every time when someone says you can't, you absolutely can. Maybe you have to do it a different way. Maybe you have to work a little bit harder. Maybe they can't do it and they feel the need to tell you that you can't do it in order to make themselves feel better about their own inabilities. Don't let people drag you down. Don't let that negativity become a burden upon you, because you need to believe in yourself. Nobody else is going to believe in you until you embody that personally. And when you do, you're going to notice a change. All of a sudden, when you're telling people, I can and I will and I am and look at me go, it happens. Things start moving, things start changing, and you'll notice the impact. It takes time though at the same time. So please be patient with yourselves. Give yourselves the time necessary to explore and grow and fully develop into the person that you know you can be at your very core. It's okay if it takes a little bit of time to make it there. Like I said earlier, just one foot in front of the other, just keep moving in that right direction.
And another bunny hop here and another bunny hop there, and you keep on moving. What you said is so important about not only the patience, but also the idea that people will often minimize or negate your ideas when they believe they couldn't do it. And we often feel like it's a protectionism thing. You'll hear this a lot from parents or relatives saying, oh, people don't make it doing that. People don't make it on Broadway. You'll never be successful as a sex worker. These things just can't happen because at some point they let go of some dream and they've convinced themselves it's easier to just say that it's impossible versus do what you said and say, well, let me take a different perspective. Let me look at this different. How can I use being 4'8" with red hair, which by the way, you and I both have red hair. Like I said, already awesome. That's it. So it's like, how can I use this as an advantage? How can I use what I was given? I can do it better. Watch me. And I love that attitude. So you took that attitude and you went into this career, this totally new world. And how long have you been working at the Bunny Ranch?
I have been working at the Bunny Ranch for just about 2.5 years now. And I have to say, there is this thing that we all joke about called bunny time, because time moves differently at the ranch. I actually had to stop just now and go, oh wow, it has been 2.5 years. Time flies.
Yeah, it absolutely is something where I think what's an interesting thing is time can fly by when you're really bored and doing things that you don't enjoy with your life, but it can also fly by differently when you're doing things that you're really passionate about. I have had those moments where I've had to check in and be like, oh my God, has it really been that long? And it's more because life has been so full. There have been other times where I felt like life is blowing by and I can't seem to slow it down. I can't seem to make those things happen. But it sounds like from your end that this is really the enjoyment, that there's so much life being lived in such a short time that's leading to the feeling of it being like, oh my God, really? 2.5 years have already gone by. And what I think is fascinating is that in that 2.5 year period, you've gone on to be one of the highest paid legal sex workers. And from what I understand, the highest legal sex worker in the United States. So can you tell the listeners what it took? Because you talked a little bit about how can I use my differences as an advantage, but also there's a business side. There's the negotiation from your prior careers, working in customer service. there's building relationships. All these different aspects go into being a successful entrepreneur, which is really what you are. So can you tell the listeners now what it took for you to reach that high pinnacle level and being the highest paid legal sex worker in the United States?
What it really took for me, the very first thing was tenacity, not backing down, continuing to work hard no matter what. Even when it seemed as if my hard work wasn't getting me somewhere, I continued to invest the energy into those things because I believed that that time investment was going to pay off. And over enough time, those opportunities did pay off. With that being said, some opportunities pay off more than others. And so it's very important to not put all your eggs in one basket. Invest in multiple opportunities at the same time. So for me, that looked like developing multiple social media profiles. I was on Twitter and I was also on Instagram. I was on a website called FetLife, and I also was working on my own blogs on my own website. Additionally, I kept adding more things. As soon as my cup felt full and I felt like, okay, I can handle this. All right, let's make time for something new. How do I build and grow? And that ability and desire to continuously scale upwards and try new things and add to my workload allowed me to discover what is going to bring me the most success. So in the earlier example of multiple social media profiles, yes, I initially started out with 5 or 6 different social media platforms, and eventually I whittled it down to the top 4 platforms that are giving me the most interaction and the kinds of interaction that I'm really seeking. And so as you grow, start working smarter. Continue to work with that same tenacity, but at a certain point you need to evaluate your work in a critical fashion and go, okay, what am I doing right? What could I be doing better? And what do I need to do next? The third thing is know where you are going. What is your next big goal? And I want everybody to take out a piece of paper and a Sharpie and write that goal in big bold letters and put it right in front of your bed so it is the first thing that you see when you wake up in the morning. Whatever your goal is, be it a retirement goal, be it a goal of doing or achieving an award, whether it be getting a raise or a promotion at work, whatever your next goal is, put it in front of you. And every day when you wake up and look at it, stop and go, okay, what steps am I taking today that leads me closer to my goal? And then write that down. What am I going to do today? Hold yourself accountable. Being able to manage yourself is an incredibly important thing in order to be successful these days. No one else is going to be cheering for you. Nobody else is going to be pushing you along the way. You have to do that for yourself. And it takes a little bit of effort to hold yourself accountable. As anybody who's tried to eat healthier knows, it's hard. It's hard to get yourself up in the morning and go to the gym. It's hard to answer your emails. It's hard to do those things, but sometimes you have to just push forward, reference back to that tenacity. Tenacity, work smarter, and then continue to work forward towards things that you want to achieve. And if you follow those 3 steps, you're going to be successful. That's the formula.
And often what I think is a misconception that I certainly had when I was younger was I thought I had to figure out what my passion was first, not the next goal, not the next step, but I had to figure out this big overarching theme for my life. And then all of a sudden the passion and the energy and the clarity on my next steps would come. But what I found is when I followed the steps that you described of, hey, let's set this clear goal, let's take action towards it, let's hold ourselves accountable, all of a sudden passion appears because we're generating the momentum in our life. We're not waiting for it. Like you said, it's the tenacity. It's going to get it. It's not sitting back and waiting for someone to bring it to you. And do you have a major current goal that you're willing to share?
I am. My big goal right now is financial retirement. And for me, that means a passive income through different investments that I have done, small businesses, real estate, things of that nature to set myself up that when I choose to retire, I will have a passive income of thousands of dollars no matter what. I want to set it up so that I can choose exactly what I want to do in life. So if I choose to continue to be a sex worker, it's absolutely because that's where I want to be. If I choose to say be a sex educator, and now I want to travel, and now I want to do sex education seminars. I've got that ability in my life. I can make those things happen. By taking care of that financial goal, it's going to open up all of those other things that I'm really excited for. So my first big goal is getting my financial retirement, getting all the investments in place, and taking major steps towards that this next year.
That's fantastic. And with your tenacity, I don't think that's going to be any problem. So in your work as a sex worker, one thing I'm curious about, because this is what I find as I talk to more and more people who are extremely successful in what they do, is the outside world can tend to look and go, they only work a little bit, or it's easy, or they make a lot in one session with one client, so therefore they have it easy. But they don't see all of the work that's going on behind closed doors with personal development, with promotion, with seeing clients, developing and cultivating relationships. So in a given week, on average, how many clients would you see, and how many hours would you say you work throughout the week?
So it's really hard to give an average of any given week in regards to how many clients I see. I work a little bit differently than the other ladies at the Bunny Ranch in that I am by appointment only. That means that the only way to see me is to set up an appointment in advance by sending an email and confirming with the deposit. So this way we get to have our time together. What I choose to do is I choose to only see one person each day. This way I can give 100% of my energy, 100% of my attention on them. I'm not focused on anybody else. That day is all about them, their needs, their wishes, making their fantasies happen, and giving to them fully, because I feel like my clients deserve 100% of my energy. And so I've structured my business in such a way that I'm able to do that. So with that being said, the number of clients change, but on average, I work a good 70 hours each week. And when like you were saying, it's work in different forms and fashions. For example, I spend about 10 hours every week at the gym, at home, working out between Pilates, lifting weights, just physical endurance training, making sure that I'm physically in the best shape possible. Then there's the marketing side of things. I'm on multiple social media platforms, from Twitter to Instagram, Snapchat to FetLife. I'm very well across the board on there. And so it takes time to develop that social media content. It's not all just smiles and selfies. There's organizing photo shoots and getting lingerie adjusted to fit me. I have to tell you, by the way, guys, I spend so much time at my tailor getting things cut down to size because I am so petite. They don't really make stuff in my size. And so with bras, it's getting the straps taken up, and dresses having the waist taken in. And all of that is effort and energy placed towards work. Additionally, there's the physical labor of actually being at work with my clients, which to me feels like the most enjoyable part of the job. That's honestly like my reward for all the hard work I'm putting in. It's like Facebook and Instagram and FetLife and writing blogs. That's work. That's me actually having to work. Getting to spend time with my clients, that's like getting to hang out with my friends. That's the reward for all the hard work.
And all that time put in leads to an even greater experience, because that's another characteristic of high performers that I've noted, is that you have balance in all areas of your life. It's not that you're just solely focused on your work at the ranch. You're additionally focused on your physical fitness to make sure that you're in prime condition for what you do. You're making sure that you're promoting on multiple platforms. You're doing a variety of different things to keep yourself well-rounded. But also what I keep hearing from you, and what I've heard in other interviews you've done, is such a great emphasis on relationships and developing that connection, because your job is very challenging. You need to be able to create connection and deep comfort with people so that you can engage in a very intimate experience. So before we go into that a little bit more, can you give the listeners an idea of what it's like to come to the ranch in general? Because I know for you it's appointment only, but from what I've heard you describe, the process of coming to the ranch, negotiating, selecting a woman that you'd like to spend time with, can you break that down a little bit for the listeners?
Absolutely, and I'll break it down two different ways, because there's really two different ways to approach the ranch. The first way is what we call a walk-in. That means that you have not picked out a specific lady yet to spend time with and simply want to see who all happens to be available. So what you would do is you would arrive at the ranch, which is located in Carson City, Nevada. By the way, fun fact, this is the opposite side of the state than Vegas. For a 7-hour drive or 1-hour flight from Vegas. Many people think we are located right there near Vegas. We're actually closer to the Reno Tahoe area than Vegas. And so if you're traveling from Vegas to Carson City, you'll actually catch a commuter flight from the Vegas airport to Reno. It's a quick hour, so no big deal. It's just something to be aware of in terms of location. So anyway, you've made it to the ranch. There will be a gate. The gate is there for our protection. This way we know who's physically in the ranch property. So this way, of course, the ladies are safe. We don't have, strangers wandering around the property unknown. And so you're going to ring the bell one time with signals to the door person that you would like to have a lineup. Once you come in, you're going to be greeted by the door lady who is going to hand you a menu, which just is a rough overview of some of the different types of experiences available at the ranch. Everything from menage a trois to massage to half and half, which is kind of a blowjob and sex party. There's lots of different varieties. So you'll get the opportunity to look at that menu while the ladies are lining up for you. At this time, the ladies will then introduce themselves by name, and at that point, you'll then be prompted to select a lady to go on tour. Keep in mind that while the ladies are standing online, they're not able to communicate back and forth with you. The reason being is that they're wanting to be respectful to the other ladies that are standing in line, and it's actually considered a form of dirty hustling for the girls to wiggle or wave or respond back to any questions you ask. So once you've picked a specific lady, you're going to get to go on a tour of the ranch. Depending on the season, you'll get to go outside and see our saltwater heated pool, some of the different VIP suites and party houses, some of the bungalows that are available, and you'll also get to hear a little bit about Nevada brothel history. We are one of the oldest locations, and frankly, I think we're one of the most beautiful locations in Nevada. So a lot of people enjoy getting the tour of the facility. At that point, you'll then head back to the ladies' private room where you get to have a negotiation. Personally, I call it a conversation more so than a negotiation, because a negotiation always feels like this very harsh word. It feels very me versus you, us versus them. When in reality, we're just having a conversation to figure out how do we want to spend our time together. This is when you can ask questions in regards to what specific services you're interested in. You can ask questions about the lady personally and get to know her some. And during that time, you'll talk about how long you'd like to spend with the lady, the types of activities you're interested in. And then the two of you will work together to decide on a budget. At that point, you'll do something called a DC, which stands for dick check. It's a quick little medical check. We just take a wipe and make sure that everything looks happy and healthy. Keep in mind that us ladies go to the doctor every single week to make sure that we are free and clear of any STDs or STIs. And so we do a quick visual exam just to make sure that everything looks nice and healthy for you too. At that point, afterwards, we go to the main office. We book the party. None of the money is handled by the girls. All the transactionary details are handled by the cashier. We then get a sheet and a couple towels and off on our way to have some fun. Another possibility, too, is the other option, which is setting an appointment. Rather than getting a lineup, you would ring twice, ask for the specific lady that you've already spoken to online, and then you would meet up with her and same thing, have the negotiation conversation, do the DC, and proceed to book the party.
It's really interesting. When you describe the tour and the walkthrough, I was like, this sounds like almost like a Disneyland, just with a different product. And then I was like, well, the product at Disneyland is happiest place on earth. And I think some people might argue the same at your location. So very similar product.
We're adult Disneyland. It doesn't get any better than the Bunny Ranch. It's an amazing place. A lot of people describe walking through the front gate as if this veil of sexual shame has just been lifted off of them and they're suddenly free to talk about sex. It's like entering a different dimension where all of a sudden the word blowjob isn't dangerous. The words I want reverse cowgirl. That's okay. Cool, let's talk about reverse cowgirl. And tell you what, let me show you a couple of variations on reverse cowgirl that work perfect for your particular anatomy. And so keep in mind that there's this amazing level of openness and honesty that gets to happen at the Bunny Ranch.
And that, I think, is so important. And I'd love to dive in more on why you think as a society, particularly in the US, we're so uncomfortable with that. Because I believe so many relationships could be not only saved, but dramatically enhanced in the quality and the connection if people were willing to say, you know what, I'd love to do this. I'd love to try this position. Hey, can we incorporate some whipped cream? Like, I feel like people are, to your point, feel ashamed. They feel like these sexual desires that they have, or a desire to try something new, is somehow wrong, when really it can be communicated with your partner, with the people that you're spending time with. So what is it about our society in particular that you think creates this aversion to having open and honest conversations about sex?
Unfortunately, our society has taught us through a means of advertising and a lack of sexual education that sex is shameful, sex isn't something we talk about, and sex is this shh, hush, hush, nobody else is doing that sort of a thing. We make up words for vagina. We have vajayjay. What is vajayjay? What is this? That's not a body part. I have a vagina or a vulva. Those are the words used to describe that. And those aren't dirty words any more so than penis is a dirty word. But unfortunately, our society has very much so censored sex, so much so that we don't even teach sex in schools. We teach abstinence. And as a result, we have a generation walking around that has no idea about sex safety, no idea about sexual pleasure, or how to even talk about sex with their partner, which is the one person you're supposed to be able to have those conversations with. Many times my clients tell me, you know, I've never felt comfortable talking to anybody else about this except for you. And while I feel very honored that they trust me so much, at the same time, I feel a little bit sad that our society has created such a limitation and such a stigma against sex and sex positivity. And so it's very important to me as a sex worker to be very vocal about sex and open and honest about not just my sexual preferences, but advocating for others to talk about their sexual preferences too. I do a little Coffee with Alice show every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, where I bring up different topics that people may be hesitant to talk about. For example, just this morning I had a conversation on sex body language and what could be signals that somebody wants to lean in for a kiss. What are signals that, someone may want help undressing? How do you read those cues? What do those cues look like? Because where else are we going to get this education? Society's not going to give it to us. And so as a sex worker, I know this. Not only is it something that I understand intimately, it's something I understand professionally too.
And I can see just from the way that you're talking about body language, you're talking about different cues, that it goes much deeper than just, oh yeah, he's turned on, he's got a boner. It's much deeper than that. And I think what you're saying about the way the way we're educated in school is really flawed. It's this, don't do it, it's going to be bad, which naturally as a kid, you're more curious about it versus.
Of course. I mean, it's kind of like how they tell you, okay, if you have sex, you will get pregnant, will get AIDS, and you will die. Now here, take a condom. That's it.
Right.
Sex ed in America. And frankly, that's not good enough. We as a society deserve better than that. I mean, for goodness sakes, we're Americans. We get the best of everything. How in the world do we not have the best sex education on the planet? How shameful that we don't have that in our society, and instead we have to invent words to talk about body parts.
I totally agree, because as I've gotten to travel and live in some different places around the world, I've seen a totally different attitude and openness to sex and openness to the conversations. I mean, going to places that have nude beaches and just comfort with the human body. Like I've noticed as Americans, we feel shameful about the body, of expressing, of being open. And
We
just
struggle. We struggle on every single level when it comes to body image, sex, to how we talk about it, to consent. I mean, we really struggle, and that struggle can't be understated. And one of my big goals is to make tangible strides towards improving the sex lives of everyone I get to interact with. If what I have to say in my experiences can make someone's bedroom life a little bit better, well then, send me an email. Let's make something happen.
And what I've seen too is from your reviews, from the rave reviews online, that you're absolutely succeeding at what you do. And I mean, your success both professionally and from the reviews, you can obviously see that what you're doing is much more than just a quick hand job and move on. You're giving a deep, profound experience. And what I'm curious about next is, I'm sure that there can be a danger of clients essentially falling in love with you, that they have an experience. I know you deal with a lot of adult virgins, that they have this deeply profound, connected, amazing sexual experience with you. And there can be that feeling of love or a deeper level of attraction. So I'm curious, how do you handle that? If you feel that a client is starting to fall in love with you or have much deeper, more emotional feelings than just wanting to come and have sex, what is your approach and how do you handle that?
Well, I do what anybody else would do. Tie them up and burn them at the stake, obviously.
All right, well, they've got to go.
Oh, no, that's it. They're done for. No, oh my gosh. So,
was not expecting that.
Oh my gosh, I'm totally joking. No, what it comes down to is we talk about it. We use our words like two adults, and we talk about, okay, what feelings are you experiencing? Are those feelings that you're enjoying? Do you want to continue with that? How do we want this interaction to proceed moving forward? Do we want to allow that emotionality to impact our time together? And so I just have a very honest conversation with them. Some of my clients choose to see me because they don't have time in their day-to-day lives for a traditional style of relationship. If they choose to make seeing me their primary type of relationship, so long as everybody is up and up in terms of this is what this relationship looks like, this is the boundaries associated it, why not? Who's to say that that's any less valid than any other type of relationship? And so to me, it always just comes down to the conversation and that communication aspect of making sure that somebody understands, hey, there is a professional nature to our relationship. Now, with that being said, you're not forbidden from having genuine feelings and emotions. If anything, that's very normal and very healthy to experience emotionality and desire for the person that you're interacting with on a physical level. If anything, I tend to fall a little bit in love with every single person I interact with. A little secret about me is that I'm actually sapiosexual, which means that rather than finding someone's physical body attractive, I find who somebody is, the substance of who they are, to be attractive. So it doesn't matter if someone is male or female, tall or short, thin, fat, great shape. Doesn't matter their shade of skin or ethnicity, their sexual preferences or fetish proclivities. All those things matter very, very little to me in the big picture of who somebody is, because that's what I'm attracted to and that's what I want to get to know about someone. And so it's a very roundabout way of answering your question, but I would say it's just being honest about how each person is feeling and being willing to talk about it. So long as we can use our words, we can figure out a way to make things work.
God, I wish I had had that level of maturity in every relationship I've had, because all of them would have ended sooner than they did versus waiting for it to get to this horrible point where we're like, why the hell are we still here? And for all the listeners, the honesty in any relationship, not just the romantic one, is so critical. Saying what you really think and feel, because when you open the door and you lead with that openness, and Alice, I'm sure this is a huge part of why you succeed so much, is you lead with the openness and the honesty, and that makes it more comfortable and more safe for your clients and the people you're working with to respond back with that openness. And I can't even emphasize enough how critical that is, but also it's really liberating as a person, because then you can actually say what you are thinking and feeling honestly, express what's in your heart, and then just continue on, because you see that you're either going to be accepted for who you are by these other people, or they may not be the right people to have in your life, but it becomes so much more apparent when you're honest.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that I work with oftentimes when couples come to see me. I'm not just available to guys. I see men, I see women, I see people who are genderqueer, people who are trans, and I also am able to see couples too. And what I always learn from my experience with couples is how they currently are communicating, and I examine that and help them find ways to how to communicate more effectively, whether it be him not reading her subtle body language or her not giving obvious enough signs that he's able to pick up on them, or him being too shy to initiate, or her being afraid that she may come off as too aggressive if she mentions that she's into being on top. It's all of those little things that I get to witness because I'm in the bedroom with them in that space, and I'm able to help break down those communication barriers. And I literally get to see relationships improve and evolve right before my eyes, and it's really incredible. It's one of the things that I feel most proud of about my work is that I get to say that I help relationships. People have this misconception that sex workers are out to end marriages or out to sabotage relationships. And I can tell you honestly, I try to save people's marriages all the time. I give relationship advice. I give suggestions for dates nights. I give everything from technical sex advice to, hey, your anniversary is coming up and you're not sure what you want to get her. Have you considered something like this? Oh, you mentioned she enjoys this thing. Well, how about this? And I'll help clients surprise their significant others sometimes even. It's really rewarding.
And what I imagine too, what's beautiful about that example is that these are sometimes very small things that people miss, that you pay such close attention to all the details that you can see where something's out of alignment, that, hey, they're not paying attention to the signs that her body is making that she wants to be kissed, or that she doesn't at this point. They're not remembering the important details, because I can see from your emphasis on relationships that you're understanding not only what's important to these people, but how they truly feel loved and supported. And so some people, it's going to be more physical. Some people, it's going to be remembering those significant dates or giving a gift or doing an act of service. It's like the book, The 5 Love Languages. So
I was just about to say there's a book I recommend called The 5 Love Languages, and I recommend this to every single person that's interested in coming to see me, because that's one of the things that we can talk about prior to your visit is, what is your love language? How do you like to express love, and how do you like to receive love? The other thing that I like to use as a reference point prior to spending time with people is the Myers-Briggs personality test. It gives 16 different personality archetypes that give you a little inside peek into how somebody processes the world around them. And using that methodology, you can kind of predict what sorts of activities are going to appeal to which people. So for example, if somebody is an introvert, going out to a wild concert may not be an ideal first date. Instead, maybe a quiet breakfast is better suited. Whereas if somebody is an extrovert, maybe we're going to go get a helicopter ride around Tahoe, and I'm going to suggest to them to take their partner out for something a little bit more adventurous. And so I'll talk about those things both with my clients as well as my virgins and single men that come to see me, because it's all about not just getting to know each other, but I help to encourage my clients to get to know themselves better too. It's really a journey of self-discovery through our time together.
this is beautiful. And I was laughing to myself when you said Myers-Briggs, because I'm like, my company, and my day job, and many Fortune 500 companies use that to better understand their employees. So you're going to such a deep level of understanding of who they are. I bet in many ways you get to know them better than they know themselves and help reveal that to them, which is absolutely incredible. I think it's one of the most important things we can do is help people connect with who they really are. So,
I always like to think of it as this mirror theory, that when we look in our personal mirrors, the mirror that's in front of us in our bedroom, in our washroom, and we get this warped perception of ourselves. It's this clown face. It's all of our flaws illuminated and brought to the surface. Everything that we don't like about ourselves is highlighted. Now, when somebody else holds up a mirror and shows us how they see us, it's a completely different picture. Instead of all your flaws being highlighted, it's all of your positive qualities. It's all the things that make you special and unique. And so, in many ways, I say my job is to point out and go, no, no, give me your mirror. We're going to get rid of that, and we're going to replace this with who you really are. And so it's not that people don't know themselves, it's that they spent so much time getting to know the things they don't like about themselves that they forget to take a moment to think about the things they do like. And they forget to pay honor to those things that really are incredible and special.
Wow. For all the listeners, whether or not you're going to have sex with somebody, if you just take that mirror theory that Alice just described and help the people see a true mirror, not this negative self-shaming mirror, you're going to change lives of all kinds of people around you. So Alice, that is beautiful. And I am enjoying this so much, but time is blowing by. So I want to hit a couple more questions before our time wraps up.
Of course.
So, and hopefully we can do a round two, because my list of questions is only growing as we go deeper into the conversation. So,
oh, I would love to. I think that would be a ton of fun.
And hopefully at that point, we'll take care of any of these audio issues. I'll get all kinds of boosters and things for my internet, so it's the clearest sound we could imagine.
Nice.
So, all right, a couple, and we'll do some more kind of rapid fire, a little shorter answers just to make sure we can hit a few more of these. But one thing that I wanted to hit on was, what are some of the biggest, or what would you say is the biggest misconception that men have relating to having wonderful, amazing, crazy hot sex? And what would you say is the greatest misconception that women have? Because I know there are tons of things that men and women both do wrong, worry about, that they really don't need to. So in your experience, what's the biggest misconception that men have and women have about having phenomenal, mind-blowing sex?
And so men and women actually have the same exact misconception in regards to sex.
Okay.
And it's not even just men and women. I would go so far as to say that all people share this misconception. And the misconception is this: we assume that other people want to have sex the exact same way that we want to have sex.
That's good.
So what this really means when you break it down is, let's just say that I like foreplay. And because I like foreplay, I'm going to assume that my partner likes foreplay. And so I'm going to play with my partner's ears because I like my ears played with. And I'm going to caress their body because I like my body caressed. So naturally, they would like that too, right? Well, maybe not right. And so the biggest misconception is assuming things. And so how you kind of overcome that and really get to have phenomenal sex is you have to talk about sex during sex. And so what this looks like is, as you go to kiss your partner, lean in and you whisper in their ear, tell me what I should do next. Now what? And then you have them prompt you and you encourage them, be like, yeah, is that how you like it? Do you like it harder? Do you like it softer? Do you like when I use my tongue in small circles, or do you prefer when I go back and forth? And by asking those questions and talking during sex, you're getting to learn how your partner likes to have sex. And so this way, the next time you're going in to go do that little thing, you know it's that little thing that gets them off because they've told you that's what gets them off. Rather than you taking a shot in the dark and hoping they like their ear touched, now you know they like their ears touched. And it becomes that much more erotic and your sex becomes that much better.
That's fantastic. And there's the additional attraction of, oh, they know I like that, and they're doing that because they know I like that, which creates even more of that intimate connection. And
Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, cheat code. If you want to impress a woman, do something that she likes, that she's told you that she likes. She's going to be so impressed that you remembered. It's just going to be like waterfall. It's just going to be like all of the doors are open. It is like the angels are singing. You are about to have phenomenal sex. If you simply listen to what she has to say, you are going to blow her mind.
I'm taking notes. And also one thing that I read that I'll share personally, and actually I believe you referenced this in one of the other interviews that I heard you say, and I was like, good, all right, I'm doing the right stuff. Because I read a book called Revolutionary Sex by Alex Allman, and he's a friend of mine. And when I read this book, my sex life totally changed. And guys, for the guys out there, one thing that will drastically change, I mean, you will go from good sex to amazing sex instantly. If a girl is enjoying what you're doing and is going really, really well, and Alex, I know you've talked about this as well, keep doing the exact same thing at the exact same speed without any variation. Because we often learn from porn, oh, she's enjoying it, go harder, faster, deeper, and go crazy, and that will actually throw her off. So if she is enjoying it and it's working and she's responding and you're paying attention to her body, keep doing that exact same thing and it will
Do
be
not
night and
change
day.
a thing. Don't change anything. This is one of those scenarios where a man's body and a woman's body processes pleasure differently on a physiobiological level. Men tend to want more stimulus. They need speed. They want more pressure. They want to ramp up the activity. For girls, we want consistency, guys. We just want you to keep doing what you're doing and just keep doing that. Even if your hand is cramping, please hang in there. Please, we know it's hard, but please, it feels really good. And we appreciate your effort. And trust me, if you treat us right, we're going to spoil you in return. So no worries there. What goes around comes around.
And comes around more and more. And and especially it's worth blowing out that forearm or tiring out the tongue every now and then, because like you said, it gets paid back tenfold sometimes. So
Yep, and this is where I have to shamelessly mention invest in high quality sex toys because they will save your arms, they will save you a lot of effort, and they can improve the quality of your bedroom time.
fantastic. And so high quality toys, keep doing exactly what you're doing. For the guys out there, ladies, give a little extra stimulation, a little variation. And I just can't wait for people to listen to this. And I want to hear back from people about how much better things get with these simple little changes. And imagine how much more we could learn from Alice with another hour or two of interviews, because that's like a couple tips that I know are going to blow people's minds. So
Yes, and I do post continuously on my personal website, www.thealicelittle.com. Feel free to go on there, check out my blogs, read some of those reviews that Brian mentioned earlier. And I also have a little shopping link, which will direct you to some high quality sex toys that I recommend.
Alex, you're making this so easy. I could just let you do this interview yourself. You want to just do a solo episode on the podcast? So, all right. And I know we have 5 minutes left, so I want to be sure I'm being respectful of your time here. So we'll do one more sex-related question, and I think then we'll just close out with one of the typical closing questions, just to make sure that we get you back to your day on time. So,
Thank you. I appreciate it because I have to go into work for an appointment right after this. So it's a little bit of go.
And you get to do your favorite thing, which is connecting with your clients. So before you go do that, what I'd love to know, and I think this is really important, is what do you think about porn? Because it is so prolific. It does what some people might argue good, some people might argue a lot of damage. What is your opinion on porn?
So my opinion on porn is that it needs to be additive to the scenario and not be the entire scenario. So by this, I mean having porn on while you're playing with your partner, perfectly healthy. Having porn on while playing with yourself very aggressively, probably not healthy. Porn, unfortunately, tends to cause this overstimulation effect, where if porn is your primary form of stimulation, that is to say that you're watching porn and pleasuring yourself, that you're going to get more and more aggressive with yourself. You're going to increase your level of consumption of porn, and the intensity of the things that you're watching is going to increase too. And so what we often see happen professionally is that men aren't able to climax without finishing themselves off using their own stimulation of hands. There's a dramatic difference between the pressure delivered by a vagina and that of a tight fist. And if you get your body so accustomed to this death grip, you really won't be able to enjoy a fruitful and healthy sex life. And so for those that are looking to have a healthier relationship with porn, I always recommend getting a fleshlight and using that for self-pleasure rather than your hand. And additionally, use porn in conjunction with other activities. Watch porn and play with your partner. Watch porn and maybe not play with yourself and just enjoy what's happening. And I do want to make another standpoint here too. Please make sure that you're ethically consuming porn. And by that, I mean paying for your porn. The people who put this product out, they're working really hard. And I know it's accessible online for free, but please pay the performers, go to their personal websites, subscribe to their services, buy the content legally, because that's what allows these people to continue to create what they are doing. And it's hard work. Let's pay them. Let's compensate people appropriately. And so I always like to throw that in there as a little aside as the ethical consumption of porn.
Right.
Because the watching porn illegally, that's not cool. That's not fair to the ladies that have worked so hard and the performers that have put all that effort and energy and exposed themselves on camera.
Mm-hmm. And to your a point that I heard you made, you don't know the source of it, if it's legal, if it was voluntary. It's a variety of other things. So for everyone out there, one really important thing that I'm hearing from Alice, don't let porn replace connecting with real people. And two, was something that a mentor of mine said recently, what's the difference between an alcoholic and someone who drinks? It's the alcoholic needs it. So if you find that it's a need and it is replacing time with people, time towards the activities you love, it can be very dangerous. I've been there. I've fallen into sex portals where I'm just gone for a while. So for anyone who suffers with that, if it's at an unhealthy level, do what you can to remove it. Because
yes, and feel free to reach out to me too, again, by email. I have some different suggestions too that I can give you based off of your personal scenario and where you currently are in your relationship with porn and sex and where you want to move to. And I can give some pointers and advice for anyone that's feeling personally spoken to at this point. I got you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alice. So the last question, I know we've got a minute left. So if you could go back and talk to your younger self, knowing everything you know now, what advice would you give to younger Alice?
The advice that I would give to younger Alice is never apologize for being you. Don't apologize for your differences because that is what is going to make you great, and that's what's going to end up being your greatest strengths. It's okay to be different. It's okay to go about things in an unusual way because that alternative thinking and those alternative life choices are going to take you to great spots, and you're going to be excited with where the future will lead.
That is beautiful, Alice. And before you go, can you please let the listeners all know one more time where they can come to learn more about you, to read your blog posts, and to connect with you? Because I know after this episode, there's going to be tons of people wanting to learn more from you.
Yes, so the first stop should be my website, which is www.thealicelittle.com. You can find my blog through there as well as a bunch of different articles I've put out. Your second stop is going to be my Twitter, which is @thealicelittle. On Instagram, also @thealicelittle. And you can now find me on Snapchat too under Alice Little. If you have any questions, any comments, anything that you would like to know or ask, feel free to reach out to me personally via email, alicelittle@bunnyranch.com.
Alice, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. It has been really, really interesting, and I'm looking forward to having you back on because I have plenty more questions for you.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I love the questions that you put out. It's a fascinating topic, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do in the future.
That sounds great, Alice. Well, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of extra time. I hope
Not a problem. I know how it goes.
I hope you have a great rest of your day and enjoy your next session.
You too. Have a good one.
Wow. Just wow. I know I don't need to say it. I know you guys are thinking it, but Alice really, really brought the value today. She was phenomenal, and there's several reasons why. I love listening to people who have challenged convention, challenged the norm, who have been told they can't do things, they won't succeed for XYZ. And when they know in their heart, like Alice does, that this is what they're meant to do, they find a way to not only do it, but to be exceptional and some of the best in the world at what they do. I think Alice's strength in the face of all the stigma, the negativity, the naysayers that come her way is really, really remarkable, and something that we can all learn from and all work to model and then make our own. To see the challenges, hear the naysayers, hear all the crazy nonsense that people throw around on social media, and just say, I know this is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to do. I'm helping people by doing this, and I'm going to keep doing it regardless of what people say. That type of peace, clarity, and focus on delivering value is remarkable. It really is beautiful. So definitely go check out Alice's work. You can go to thealicelittle.com, see her blog and her articles. Check her out at the Alice Little, so at the Alice Little on Twitter and Instagram. And you can also connect with her on Snapchat at Alice Little SBR. It was a pleasure having her on. I can't wait to have her back. If you have questions for her, if you want me to reach out, find out some things about her, you can reach out to her through social media, or if you want to have another in-depth episode, because I'd love to have her back, and I really want to have some user-submitted questions. I want to hear some feedback from the audience of, what do you want to know? What are you curious about? And we can make it totally anonymous, so you could ask some really freaky, kinky shit if you want, and I will put it out there, guys, because Alice isn't afraid. Alice works in this. She is a pro, and she knows everything about it. It's pretty insane how much knowledge she has collected over the years. So if you want to learn something, if there's a challenge you're facing, if you want help, reach out. Shoot me a message, and I will reach back out to Alice. We'll schedule another interview. We'll get it on the calendar, and then we'll share even more value with you all. And I got to give a huge shout out to Mike Winch for the audio editing of today's episode. When we were recording, Alice and I had a bunch of internet connection glitches, some drops, some cuts, and Mike handled it like a pro. He took a really rough cut and cleaned it up so much that you could get all this benefit and value from Alice. So Mike, thank you so much for your time, your energy, and for working on this, buddy. It really made a huge difference. If you want to stay up to date on everything going on with Overcoming Graduation, be sure to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or on Stitcher so you get the most up-to-date episodes downloaded straight to your phone. If this episode was of value to you, if it was fun, if it's something that you think other people would benefit from in your circle and in your life, be sure to share it. Be sure to comment. Be sure to rate this podcast, because the more we are able to share this message, connect with people, boost the ratings, we can get out to more and more people. So I really would love, if it's one of the greatest honors you can give, is when you share an episode and you say, I got so much value from this that I want other people to listen in. So I would love for you to do that if you feel called to do it. And if you're ready to take things to the next level in your own life, you're ready to stop accepting good enough, mediocre, or, well, yeah, no, that's just how it is. If you want to live an exceptional life and you're ready, I want you to reach out to me for a 1-hour free clarity session. You can do that either just by emailing me directly at brian@overcominggraduation.com or visiting overcominggraduation.com/coaching. Because coaching has changed my life. It has saved my life, and it has created some of the most incredible results in my life. And I have worked with coaches, I've invested heavily, and I've been coaching people for years to help them achieve their dreams faster, find out what the reasons are that they're doing it, and have the right reasons in mind when they go after what really matters in their life. So I want to help you, if you're ready, to lean in, to play full out, and it's a 1-hour free, no strings attached session. If we never work together again after that session, I just give you a bunch of value and give you some steps to start creating your dream life today, great. If you're ready to dive in and go into one of the multi-month coaching programs, we're only going to make your results expand faster, deeper. It's going to be amazing. So if you're ready for that, be sure to reach out to me. Otherwise, guys, that is all for today. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. I love you all. I love you for being a part of this, and I can't wait to continue to share more incredible messages like this with you. So be sure to go check out Alice, get started, have a kick-ass day, and I am sure we will be talking again real soon.